The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good morning, listeners. It's Tuesday morning, and I am so thrilled to be here with you because you are the heart and soul of the show. So I want to thank each and every one of you who have got our books, Entrepreneur's Garden, Expert to Influencer. As you all know, Entrepreneur's Garden gives you the 9 meaningful relationships that can turn your life around, regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur, homemaker, domestic engineer, leader, wherever you're at. It will bring you the entrepreneurial spirit and the connection with different relationships. For example, one of the relationships is with money. And of course, don't we all want to have some more in our lives so that we can live the life that we want and bring the impact to other people? An expert to influencer. So one thing I do want to point out, that influencer is about becoming that person who is a rising tide that lifts all boats, where you're helping others, where you're positioning yourself for meaningful impact. Because when we talk about impact, partial profits of our books go to kiva.org, and we are able to help entrepreneurs all across the globe because of you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a win-win situation, and together we can help. And as always, I'm going to invite you to spend 1 hour of your time, maybe 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, every month for a kind act. Help somebody out, smile at someone. Doesn't take any time at all when you're smiling at someone, with no strings attached. And imagine the impact that could be if even 100 million people did that. Share it with someone, that go ahead and do this 1 hour of kindness with someone that you love, or neighbor, or a stranger every month. If we all came together 100 million hours, or 200 million hours, or even if it is 10,000 hours, it's going to make our world a better place. So keep on sending your stories, and I want to read out one story of Lindsay. Lindsay shared that she went ahead and helped her neighbor move because her neighbor was a single mom who was pregnant, and she didn't tell me how many hours she spent, but she helped her move, took her some lunch. So Lindsay, kudos to you. We celebrate you and thank you for keeping that circle of kindness going. Now let's bring in our guest. Welcome, Eve.
Hello, happy to be here.
Glad to have you here. So usually we begin our show by going back to your childhood. Tell us if you recall a moment or a person that left a mark on you during your childhood.
Well, I think plenty because my parents are artists, and I think I met so many artists ever since I was a kid. I often say that I was forlorn to be an artist. In fact, my first exhibition was when I was 4 years old. And I think growing up with all this amazing creative community, learning how to be yourself I was born in Soviet Union, but so be very, very different from anybody else. It was a really interesting challenge in a way. I can't put single person as an example because there were plenty of incredibly interesting artists around me, thanks to my parents.
That is such a beautiful childhood because so many people are barely exposed to art and
True.
having art around you. How did that play a part in your growing up?
As I said, my parents were artists and they put me in
Mhm.
an exhibition when I was 4 years
I
old.
know that's
And
amazing.
yeah, and so they continue with that, putting me in art school and then art
Mm.
academy. And then eventually, when we were branding one of the colleges in India, many people did share their experience with how they actually choose the place where to study. And I realized that my parents put me in all these positions without even asking me. So I pretty much become an artist without knowing what I want to do. And it was really interesting because I was always interested in psychology. And
Mhm.
probably if my parents wouldn't put me in any art situation or career, I most likely would be a psychologist. But then eventually, when at my first position on TV channel, I was branding TV channels. I discovered what branding is all about. I realized that this is great marriage between design, art, and psychology. And ever since, I've been doing things which I actually love and things which I know how to do.
So when you look around and when you see other people, people are not exposed to art as much. And I know coming from a science background, I just dabble. So first of all, let's find out what was the medium that you used? Like, was it watercolors, oil paints? What was the medium that you favored?
Well, when you do professional art, you become a craftsman, first of all. So you
Mhm.
rarely choose one medium. You have to be an expert of all. And probably I'm lucky to be exposed to all the type of graphic design and graphic techniques, including lithography, etching, linograving and wood graving, all these kind of things. And obviously watercolor and oil painting and drawing and anatomy and all of the things. Academic art education is 12 years of study. It's almost the same as doctor's study. So
Wow.
it's a lot to learn, and it doesn't seem that creative as people think, to be honest. It's a lot of science involved and things like that. But I can tell you that I was always obsessed with books, with book design. And when I finished the School of Arts, I graduated as book designer. And then also I graduated as book designer from the National Academy of Art in Ukraine. And books were my thing for a reason, because in the childhood, I loved Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale. I think it's called Wild Swans, if I'm not mistaken. And the characters in this book, they had a book in their childhood, which was, I can say, interactive, because they could communicate with the characters in the book, which is, thinking about it, sounds weird, because characters in the book could communicate with characters in the book, whatever. That was fascinating for me. And ever since, I wanted to recreate this experience, because I think it was such a mesmerizing idea that you can communicate with pretty much not live medium. And we're speaking about 80s, we are far away from web design or apps or anything like that. And I think that was such a significant experience to me that I start studying art first and book design to understand how to make it more interactive. I created many interactive books when things were moving and people could interact somehow with medium. Then I was studying web design and I wanted people to interact with books through media through web. And then I start thinking about media design. We were working with CD designs, which is, dinosaurs of modern apps and everything. So I was always fascinated with this interactive element. But then eventually, when I discovered branding, I realized that suddenly we create this virtual entity which communicate with people through characters and things like that. And in a way, I think I achieved this idea of creating interactive medium overall with all the crafts and ideas and visuals and video when something can create communication or connection with real people. So when we speak, for example, about brands which communicate to people with brand personality, people build psychologically, they build connection with brands in exact same way as they built with real people, which is, I think, very interesting.
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned that, you went into the art school. So was it 12 years of studying? And from there, did you go to corporate world or did you start out on your own?
Well, basically, the school is 6 years. The School of Art is 6 years, and then a National Academy of Art is 6 years as well. After that, I study as in a private form in a cinematography academy a little bit because I was fascinated with photography and film. So I wanted to pay my attention to that as well. And I also did study some media design, like, web design and things like this after academy. So technically, my education probably took more than 12 years.
But there's so much to learn because it's like not only one medium, there are so many different mediums, and every medium has those nuances that if you don't know them, you can miss out on so many things.
Absolutely. And therefore, when I was still studying in School of Art, I was already illustrating books for a friend of mine. So my first work probably was in 1994, something like this. So I started working when I was a teenager. And then my next work again was as designer in one of the advertising companies in 1998. And then after that, I got to the TV company, which is branded TV companies, TV shows. And that was really deep dive into communication, in this idea that you can communicate through different mediums. Giving you an example, when you design the TV studio, you just need to understand how people who speak on camera will be presented in 3 different dimensions: talking head, 2 people talking body. Sometimes we show the people, and usually on TV shows, people shift their attention from about 3 seconds so that viewers are never bored. So it was really interesting. Not really a corporate word because it's more like branding and advertising. It's far away from the very solid corporate ideas. It's a lot of freedom and creativity. And then after that, I opened my own agency for the first time. And it did last for about 3 years, probably still lasting because I left it so to my partner. And then I did work in BBDO. It's an international advertising agency. And after that, I moved to work as creative director in New Delhi, India. And I did work there for 10 years. And at the same time, I opened 3 photo studios, several design studios. So overall, by the end of that 10 years, I did run 7 businesses. 6 of them were mine, 2 with partners. It was really interesting time. And then when I moved back to Ukraine, I thought that I will find the job, and I didn't see that my business really bring enough of money. It was more like a side hustle.
I
at least
see.
the main one. But it happened that it started bringing money, and I end up running my own agency for almost 7 years by now. It's coaching, design, branding, stuff like that.
Very nice. So you have talked about, let's look at the difference in different mediums. So you talked about that 3 seconds. So tell us, can you share about that in details? Like, so what's different about the videos and then the interactive books, which is like, I'm assuming you're talking about the print books versus writing.
Well, I love writing, but I'm dyslexic. So that's a huge problem for me, because I love words. I love elaborate thesaurus. I love when people use very interesting language. But I also know that 95% of purchases are emotional purchases. I also know that when people communicate with mediums, they do communicate through their emotions. And when we speak about the brain, the limbic system doesn't have identification of the words. The words are only appear in neocortex. So when we talk about art, when we talk about visual storytelling, there is no words in it. It's purely visual language. When people see you on video, when people see footage, their mind work differently than when they read the book. They actually build up association in their mind. For example, if they see beautiful seashores and they see forest or something like this, their mind come up with association. And I often teach in my course that you can communicate the smell, the temperature, the speed with the right footage. And people are quite mesmerized, but let's do this exercise. Imagine that you hold the lemon, half of the lemon in your hand just right now. I want you to imagine how you squeeze this lemon, and I want you to smell this kind of lemony, beautiful, juicy smell. Can you do that? Do you feel like you have a little bit more saliva in your mouth and you already start interacting with the smell?
Absolutely. That definitely makes sense, because that's used in hypnosis and visualization, and for NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, and for a lot of different things, because as you mentioned, brain sees in pictures because the senses, like, as they were developed, were through the sight, that as we look around, and that's where the books can be so powerful, like when they're painting the picture through storytelling. And what you're sharing is that even in the video, you can create, like, if you're holding that lemon, that cut lemon, you can make the connection.
Yes.
So moving beyond the different types of mediums, now people have to use, the tides have turned. Before, people saw professionals and actors on TVs and getting in front of the video. With the advent of social media, everybody, especially entrepreneurs, have to get on, either it's Facebook Lives, podcasts. They got to show up, and yet they're fearful. So what stands in their way?
So it's an interesting thing. As we start tapping into the science of brain, we just need to understand an interesting thing. That, as I said, your brain can connect the dots. Just like with this lemon situation, your brain creates the story. So imagine that you are afraid of camera. And there are plenty of people who will teach you that you need to show up crazy amount of times, and that will help you to overcome the fear of camera. But I teach in my courses and overall that you should never, ever do that unless you know what kind of fears stop you from public speaking or speaking on camera, because the glossophobia affecting over 75% of population, it's the closest fear to the fear of death. And then people really feel uncomfortable speaking to the piece of plastic, because when they speak on stage, they can see the reaction, they can play around, but when they speak to a piece of plastic, it's something unpredictable. So the three fears which I identify, they are related to three parts of the human brain. So the first one, amygdala reptilian brain, this is instinctive fear. And when people have this instinctive fear, they have very strong physical reactions. So sometimes it's sweaty palms, sometimes it's difficult to swallow, sometimes they just their hands are shaking when they try to press go live button. So in this case, your brain believes that there is a tiger, imaginary tiger, which is going to attack you. And in this case, it's good to have repetition. However, if that is the case, you will never need more than 10 repetition. So in 10 repetition, your brain pretty much will know that there is no tiger behind the plastic camera. It's all right to go live. It's fine. Now, the next layer is the limbic system. It's emotional brain. And in this case, when we talk about the limbic system, it's a part which communicates on a level of mammals. It's also called mammalian brain. So in this case, we don't have words. We have emotions, we have connection. And in this case, people need to build connection with their customers. We use visuals for that. However, if you have fears related to this part, those fears will be, they will sound like blocks. I'm not enough, the fear of judgment, the fear that somebody will think that my environment is wrong. Women often say, I'm too fat, my hair is wrong, I can't go without makeup, all these stories. Personally, been there, done that, all of that. So when we have these emotional fears, and you will go with repetition, you will harm yourself. And I would never recommend to go with repetition if you have fears of this domain. There is a reason for that. If you will go by the book by Maxwell Maltz, Psycho-Cybernetic. So when we talk about this book, it's very interesting. He was a plastic surgeon. So he was giving an example how the tissue is healed with the scar tissue on your body. So your body, very smart, your body just fixing the tissue which was wounded with something. So, next time you are wounded, you have scar tissue, so you are well protected. Now, there is also the theory which he came up with, which is called the emotional scar tissue. So if you were wounded in a specific place, if you had that fear of camera, the emotional fear of camera, you start protecting yourself. Now, with every single repetition, you will actually grow the scar tissue instead of removing that. How will that look? You will actually lose the emotional connection with your viewers. And that's really not where you're going when you're trying to create this branding, this connection, and build proper relationships with your viewers. So instead of that, I recommend to work on your energy level. And the energy level, in a sense, you can dance before you go live, or you can eat better or not eat 2-3 hours before your video recording, so that your body is not in that sleepy state. In terms of energy, I mean that your body is acting in a best comfortable condition. Another thing, because this part of brain is visual, you need to visualize how you will be a star of your show. Many people say, I know I have to create my videos. I know I have to create content.
Right.
And I'm like, no, stop there. And now drop this idea. I have to. You need to go, I will enjoy today going live. Oh my God, I can't wait to go live. I can't wait to be a star of my show. I can't wait to help as many people as I can. Now, from this one, I want to move to another layer of the fears, which is related to your neocortex, to your logical fears. So if you have logical fears, it's pretty much like play the card game or chess game with your own brain. Your brain is as smart as you, and it can overplay you anytime. So when you have logical fears, and those are perfectionism, imposter syndrome, ideas which probably will stop you, but they are super logical. It is difficult to overcome these ideas, because why you will even create this content if everybody already talking about this? Why even waste your energy? Because, your brain is actually taking a lot of energy. So your body protecting you. They're like, no, why you need to waste your energy to create more videos? Everybody already doing that. Nobody is ever going to watch you. This is an ego story when we speak in absolutes. Now, there is a very good exercise, which I always recommend to my viewers, to my students. I ask them the question, and I will ask you the question. So the question is, on a scale between 1 to 10, what does the success of your customers means to you?
10.
10. Most of the people always say 10. And that's a very interesting thing. If success of your customers means 10 to you, how dare you are not to show up? So in the moment you start speaking to your logical brain this way, it actually have nothing to beat up. It's like, oh my God, yes, it's true. You just have to show up. You have to help your clients, because this is why we're creating our business.
Absolutely. Those are some phenomenal tips that our listeners can take and apply it in real life. And here's the thing, folks. You may be thinking, oh, yeah, it's very easy for both of you to share. You have been doing podcasts or showing up on your own shows. But here's the thing, that when you show up from the place that Eve mentioned, caring for your clients, then it shifts the focus from yourself to them. And I'll tell you, like initially when I started the videos, I've been in the area of podcasting forever and doing online webinars and all that. And that said, initially when I would be doing the videos and looking at that piece of plastic, as you said, there would be something that would freeze up in me. And then I had to make sure my hair was looking proper, I was like my background was good. And now I know that I'm showing up for you. It's not about me, it's about you. So as long as I'm providing value, so if I'm having a bad hair day, so be it. It's completely fine. So as we move on, you talked about some great fears, people have overcome fears. And now how do they take that mental readiness and translate it into external readiness so that they can connect at an emotional level with their audience?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because let's continue to this how brain work. We were talking about how we react with the camera. Now imagine that our viewers see us and their brain work exactly same way. So what they see you, and if you are afraid of camera, your body language will show that. And that's the most interesting part, because now it's not an imaginary tiger behind the plastic box. It's absolutely real person who, for example, for reptilian brain, and this is how every single person scans the video in milliseconds. It just doesn't happen that long as I explain it. It's just seconds. It's reflection, which every human being does. So what they do, they see the person, and this person, for example, is afraid, but they try their best to not look like afraid. What they do, they clench their fist, they clench their lips, and they're trying to do like this, and they're like, hello, hi, how are you doing? It's okay. And you expose this fear, you are not relaxed, and people can sense it. And the first thing how they react, swipe. They're actually trying to move away from you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right in that, because people have the choice. There are videos after videos, and now, gosh, as if we didn't have enough, now there is Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, TikTok.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with you. It's just because you were that tiger. You just scare them with this fear. People can sense it. So suddenly you become a tiger. So instead of becoming a tiger, just feel fine, feel good. That feeling good, the internal image, this is very, very important part. Again, if we speak about emotions, if in your head you believe that you had bad hair day or any kind of things like that, oh my God, I look fat. Oh my God, I'm not looking good enough. How do you think your face will look when you think about it?
Oh, you're probably going to be like, oh my God, is my hair looking all right? Gosh, is my makeup good, or are my glasses reflecting? And oh gosh, I need to
Exactly.
have my pair of contacts. What happened? Like, my contacts are missing. There can be
You
so
will be
much, and your face
all in your
will tell the
head.
story.
You will be
Yes.
all in your head, not in your
Mhm.
heart. When we connect with people, we connecting through this very emotional, warm feeling, as if we hug these people, as if we just kissing them all. We love the beautiful clients, and they can sense that. And if we are afraid, and if we are in our head, oh my God, how I look, oh my God, our eye contact is not there. We are not there at all. Now, if we are in our mind all the time, and these fears are really, really heavily present, you probably saw such videos when people give you tons of important information, but they speak above the head. There is expression, speaking above the head. You feel like this information is important, but really you don't connect with that because this is information which is not connecting to real-time issues. It's just like reading Wikipedia, probably. So it's important, but
Mhm.
really, do you need to watch this video? So those are very common situations with video, and they are related to your self-image. So when you think about yourself and what you think about yourself expresses, and not only expresses on video, it expresses when you present for boards of directors. I did present to many boards of directors. As creative director, I had to pitch huge companies, and it's a very different thing because when you pitch boards of directors, first of all, they expect that you're going to do it, so you already have prepared public. On the other hand, nobody filming you, which is probably a good news because if I would probably see one of my pitches, it would be crazy. But on video, you will be able to see yourself. So it's also a great tool to learn how you communicate to people. So I did experiment, and I encourage you to do the same experiment. I was creating a selfie for one of the social media with a very general personal message so I can connect with people. And the photo was me holding a white flower in front of me. And I thought, let me experiment and post same post on different social media, but there's a different message. On one message, I mean visual message, it was not verbal message. On one message, I was creating my photo and I was thinking, I love you. I dived deep in this feeling. I was trying to embody this feeling that I love you. How will I look? And that was me with a flower. On next image, I was like, I'm attractive. I'm passionate. With a little flower. Same me, same posture, same flower. And then it was like, yeah, that's me. There is no thought behind. So it's just a random image. And I was just, okay, how I will look, I will be not in my heart at all. And guess what? When I was posting on different social media, the image where I was in I love you state got maximum amount of comments. The post was the same. Everything was the same. Pretty much same girl with a flower. The only non-verbal message was this. So how we feel, how we communicate about ourselves with ourselves creates this non-verbal communication with people through photos or through videos, doesn't matter.
That's such a beautiful experiment, and I'm definitely going to try that. Now, question for you. When you're talking about it, goes back to the self-image as to how do you see yourself, and that translates into the external stuff as well.
Yes. And
That's
interestingly, this is how people buy from you. So
mm,
speaking about visual, people build connection, as I described.
mhm.
But also imagine this, and this is very common for webinars. Recently, I was giving the webinar on how to convert your viewers to buyers. And we were talking a lot about how your self-chatter hijack your communication with your clients and hijack your sales. And that's a very interesting thing. And I want you to imagine that on the right side from you, you have the beautiful future where you start making these changes. You decide to make your videos, you build your personal brand, you create posts every day. I don't know, maybe twice a week, more consistently. I don't recommend to post every single day. That's important. So you become visible. You create this beautiful self-image. You work on yourself. You build connection with your customers from your heart. And on the left side from you, you have an image when you did nothing. You just listen to this podcast and you say, meh, I don't care. And you move on like with any other podcast, right? So I want you to feel into each of this direction. How does it feel, Divya?
Of course, the right one will definitely be attractive.
So that's an interesting thing. Your mind can only choose one. You can only focus on one. And when you focus on this beautiful image where you are successful, you are selling with ease, you enjoy communication, you build successful business, it reflects. I did experiment with one of my photo clients. During the photo shoot, I had a conversation with my business partner. And when we were creating photo shoots before, we were discussing a lot between us photographers, the story about, yeah, can you try to do it better? Let us move the light a little bit. Let us do that. Standard conversation pretty much between two creatives. And we were dealing with one client who was, let's say, difficult in a way. She was always very demanding, and she was a nice girl, but very, very demanding. And I asked my business partner to do the experiment. I was like, look, she has no idea if the image is good or bad. She is not an expert. We are. And when she sees that we try to perfect the image, in her mind, we are trying to save terrible image and trying to move something here and there to make it somewhat acceptable. She doesn't know that we already create perfect image and we just trying to play around and see, will it work better or something like this, just to improve something. Or maybe not. We're already happy with the first image. She doesn't know about that. So what I told him, I said, look, today, specifically today, we're going to compliment every single photo we create. Not only compliment, we are going to be excited about every single photo we create during the photo shoot. So we will photograph an image and we probably didn't say anything if image was bad, but most of the images were pretty good. They were decent. And we were like, oh my God, that's amazing. Look how that little accent look. Oh my God, that's color. It's just so mesmerizing. And we called her, look at that. Don't you like it? Look at that sharpness. Wow, that detail is just so delicious. By the end of the photo shoot, she was the best client I ever talked to. She was happy. She was relaxed. She believed that we just created best photo shoot in her life, which is probably was the case. The thing is that many times when we deliver our presentations or videos, we forget that our clients have no clue about what we do. And we start doing this in a very professional way. We start discussing with them things which you're not supposed to discuss. So instead of that, and we worry about this as well. So clients picking up this conversation and make their own conclusion without knowing the real picture. So when you create your webinar, for example, and you think, oh, what if nobody will come? Oh, what if I will not convert anybody? You focus on conversions, you focus on leads, you focus on numbers. Instead of that, what if you think, I'm so excited that today I am going to help people to transform. I can't wait to help more people today with this amazing webinar. I'm so excited about these illustrations. The content is fantastic. It doesn't matter who will come, when they will come, because I'm going to make the replay. I'm going to send it here. I'm going to send it here. I can guarantee that somebody will watch parts of these webinars during the year.
Mm-hmm.
I will make everything possible that this content will be seen, visible, and will help people to transform. Wow, now you focus on transformation. Now you focus on how you can help more people instead of thinking, oh my God, will I have that millions of subscribers or not? Or some people unsubscribe or something like that. That's a negative thinking. You don't need to focus on that. You can always focus on that right image. Where do I want to be when I transform? Where do I want to be when I change my way of thinking? And that will help you to build better, more positive connections. And it doesn't mean live in that toxic positivity. It doesn't mean that you will be always excited about everything. It just means that you are consciously changing the focus from negative to positive, from defensive to creative.
Mm-hmm. Very powerful, because energy goes where focus goes.
Exactly.
So if you want the energy to flow where you're focusing, then it's important to return back to your why. And that was the question you asked me. What does it mean for your clients to succeed on that scale of 1 to 10? So when you focus on your why, then again, you're moving the focus away from yourself. And it's almost like flipping that M in me to W, so it becomes a we.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very powerful, because when you give yourself to people without thinking about, oh, what's going to happen, without focusing on that, people will connect and you'll slowly build those relationships. And it's more about the quality than quantity. So some very powerful tips over here. So Eve, can you share with us as we are coming to a close, do you have any final tips for our listeners?
So my main tip is definitely focus on your self-image. And I can tell you, one of the tips, or one of the methods which I used for myself to achieve the dreams. And that will be very, very powerful exercise. But let's go not for tips, but for exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So many years ago, when I created this method, I was sitting and reflecting over my journal, and I was thinking, well, there is one desire which I didn't achieve by now. For some reasons, I wanted this for long, long years, and I didn't achieve it. So I start writing, what are the benefits? If I will achieve this desire today, what are the benefits? So this is a tip number one, write the benefits about your desire. Then, once I did write the benefits, and to be honest, there were 6 benefits,
Mm-hmm.
not that many, for the desire which you really, really wanted for all your life. I was like, well, let me write down fears which I have about this desire.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another tip. Write the fears about the desires. And this can be anything, like what if I will not achieve it? What if I will achieve it? It can be anything, any fears which are associated with this desire. And well, I did write 3 pages of fears about this desire. No wonder I never could get this desire. Now then, what you do next? The third column. Once you understand what's going on in your head, you just need to understand that your mind will not allow you to achieve this result unless you have lesser fears. So to overcome it, you write a next column, which is say, how would I feel if I achieve this result and I have all the benefits from that first column?
Mm-hmm.
How would I feel? And now once you write that, you just need to start feeling exactly like you would feel when your result is achieved. This will help you to achieve results, no question asked, and feel much, much happier in future and really enjoy your business.
Yes, that's a good exercise to do. So when our listeners are listening, I'm sure that many would love to connect with you. Can you share with us, where can they connect?
Absolutely. I will invite them to connect with me on visibilitygym.com/connect.
Mm-hmm.
And they can get wonderful gift there, which is called 10 tips to improve your video. They will have a lot of links to my YouTube channels, to my podcasts, so they can get a lot more content like that. And they can also book the call if they like to connect with me, either about design, either about branding, either about video course, when they can learn how to overcome their fears of video.
Yeah, a lot of valuable tips and connections and courses. So definitely. So thank you, Eve, for joining us and sharing your wisdom nuggets.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, it was a pleasure. And thank you, listeners, for joining us, because without you, the show would not be possible. Reach out to us and let us know, what is it that you would love to have, whether it is strategies, tactics, or approaches, or information, and we will bring the expert for you. And I want to thank each and every one of you who has reached out. And I so appreciate your love, because you do reach out very generously and share your thoughts, and that's what shapes our show. So thank you. And thank you, Juan, for making the show technically possible. So until next time, be well and take care.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week.